Welcome Bellas to another episode of Fall in August. In today's video, we're going to make these 4 beautiful pieces all using Dollar Tree items. Let's get started. So in this first DIY, I took all the about 6 of these huge Dollar Tree bowls that they have all year long, and I am putting 2 together to make one piece. So this is going to be a 3 huge topiary fall piece, and so as you can see, I put glue on them and held them with the clamps just so the glue could hold them together more. And so with that, this first first part of the topiary, I went ahead and used all of the ribbon, the fall ribbon that Dollar Tree has right now, and I just covered it. It took about, I want to say, 2.5 rolls of each piece of each roll for each piece, sorry. And to cover it up, and you can cover it up how you want. I did it this way, and I tried it another way just to see which was easier. The first was easier, so this I used the plaid ribbon, and I just covered it up completely. And it took a little bit of time to make this piece because it is like a basketball size, I want to say, for each piece of the topiaries. Sorry, it's kind of late in the night while I'm recording this. And so as you can see, I'm just wrapping it completely up. And I did each piece this way. I started off with the plaid. I think I started next with the green one. Just same concept. And so as you can see, there's the green one. And this one I went all the way around, just non-stop without even... I added the glue so the glue would stick to each roll. And I just went ahead and tried it this way. This was a little faster, but it didn't necessarily give me the same coverage. So in the end, I think I ended up doing it the first way, just piece by piece, rather than just rolling it around it. And as you can see, I completed that one. Now we moved on to the next one, and this one was that burlap orange. And this one, the last piece, I ended up putting rocks in it just to give it some weight. So the bottom, because this orange was going to be the bottom part of, so it needed to weigh a little bit more to be able to hold the pieces down, because of course it's a lightweight bowl that you're gluing together, and if any wind gets in it, I'm pretty sure it would knock it over. You could also put rocks in each bowl so it just stays heavier, but I only did it to this one, to the orange one. And as you can see, I'm doing it piece by piece. I just do one side from the next, cut it, and then move on to a different angle. And as you can see, covered it up. Now I pulled all these flowers, and you could put any kind of flowers you want. I used the blue, the white, geraniums, and I think yellow daisies or sunflowers. And so I had this burlap. I got those burlap leaves that Dollar Tree is carrying right now, and they're pretty big, so I figured I just threw 3. I do everything in 3s. I mean, everything looks better in 3s to me. That's my opinion. But so I just added 3, of course, to each, just to give it a little bit of texture, and alternated the colors. The orange, I put it just the regular burlap leaves, and then with the green I put, I believe, the red, yes, the red burlap leaves. And those are really pretty awesome because they're pretty good size, so I think it went well with this topiary since it's so huge. And you could also keep in mind, you don't have to use ribbon. I wanted to see how the ribbon turned out, and to play around with it to get that different color effect. We had one with a pattern color in the plaid, and then we had the green and the orange. So, and here, as you can see, I added the orange maple leaf to the plaid colored one. And it took a little bit of time trying to keep the wire to stick to the glue. I wanted it to make sure it stayed sturdy, so. I just had a difficult time with that one. And then there you go. I'm adding still the same flowers, the geraniums, the blue roses, and yellow daisies. I think there were blue geraniums also. It wasn't roses. And so from there you can see that I've completed this top portion. Now I'm adding a stem, and I just got an old painted stem that I have painted white, and I just glued it to the top because this was going to be my top of my topiary. And then I let that dry for a little bit. I put East 6000 also just so it could stick on there for a good while, because you are gluing it to material and it can come loose. So at the top I added a little bit more flowers to give it a little bit more coverage, especially to cover up all your mistakes. And with this, I'm now starting to put all 3 pieces together, and I started with the top, the middle, E6000, and then I put the orange in the bottom, and I put it in this Dollar General planner that I had for years, and I thought it fit well into it, and it held it pretty good. And so then I took some of that Dollar Tree leaves vine, and I wrapped that around, I think 2 of them around there, and added the rope, and then I made also a bow with the buffalo check, and this is how it turned out. So in this next DIY, I am making a garland for my huge mirror that I have in my living room. I wanted to add a garland in the living room, but without having to put it on the window. So I decided to put it on my mirror. What I started with was this Dollar Tree burlap garland that I found, and I've never seen it there, but I was so happy, as you may have seen in one of my hauls. And so I started off with that and just wrapped it around the mirror to see what the length I wanted. Then I got some of that green mesh garland from Dollar Tree as well, and just tied it to, started as the beginning of my garland, and added some pipe cleaners to start adding just a bunch of ribbon. And I went with that cut up piece and I put it in the center and just let it wrap around. It didn't fully come down, but then I went ahead and grabbed this tool, this leaf tool from Dollar Tree, of course, and just putting layers of different garland tulle to give it a volume. And so then I'm adding that mesh tube that Dollar Tree has this season, that is in the burlap color. Loved it, so I decided to add it to there. And then I added some of that orange burlap that they also carry too, and I'm just fluffing it everywhere which way I can, just to give it a more and more volume as you go along. And this one was going to be a more simpler one, because the one I'm going to do outside is actually going to be the big daddy of them all. So and then I went ahead and made a little bow just for the center, just so I could make that my focal point. Not too big. I just wanted to do a little shoelace bow in the center, because I'm gonna do some other bows on the corners, top, and then work from but I just wanted that little bow, which I thought it was real cute. So then I added some of the Dollar Tree cotton that has the pine cones, and I love that that bouquet because it looks so realistic. And I'm just adding it to each side to give it balance. And if you guys want to add it, to a mantle, a garland to a mantle, or even just like one of your, like, probably your, even an end table or a center table, like your coffee table, you can do a little garland that runs down the center of the table and hangs over. I think that would be real cute. I don't have a coffee table, so this is somewhat what, otherwise I would do it. And so at this point I'm just adding a bunch of the orange and flowers and different kinds of floral arrangements for fall. I have the orange pomegranates that I'm adding just around the garland. And I recently did paint that mirror. I made it into an antique look. It was a goldish color and I didn't like it, goldish brown, and I didn't like it, so now I added this off-white paint and I antiqued it somewhat. So I love the way the mirror turned out, so I think it goes great for any kind of garland you want to add to there, which I can't wait to add for Christmas. And as you can see, I'm just adding those are the hydrangeas, the little ivory hydrangeas that Dollar Tree carries. I just wanted to keep it simple, orange and white in here. And you can really just put as many flowers as you want. If you want to make it bigger, you can. If you want to make it smaller, if you want to use different kinds of flowers, different kinds of colors, it's all up to you. But I just wanted, with that mirror, I just wanted to keep it a very simple, elegant orange and ivory kind of look. Just adding the final touches. Also, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe, like, and comment, and let me know if you're making a garland for a different kind of furnishing that you have. And so this is the end result, and I do have a hanging wreath hanger that I'm going to use to incorporate this next project. So what I did was I wanted to make basically a floral, like a vase out of the mason, the Dollar Tree mason boards that they have for this year. And what I did was got some of those tumbling logs that they have at Dollar Tree, and I want to say I used a whole box, more or less. I think it was a little bit less than a whole box of the game, and I just wanted to give it a little bit of space because I'm going to put some florals inside of it, and I'm just making it into, what I liked about this was the fact that I combined them two together, put them back to back, and it can stand on its own, or I added, of course, the nautical rope, and now it hangs. So what I wanted it for was to hang on that wreath hanger on my mirror. So, and this is just me getting the tumbling pieces that I need. And I think I did 4 layers on this to get an actual, you can make it as wide as you want. If you plan on putting more than flowers than I'm doing. But I did 4 layers, and I was able to get 2 of those small Dollar Tree floral foams inside of it. I think if you go less, it's going to be harder to get any kind of flowers. So I put 4, and you can go more from that. And I kind of did wish that I did off-center these when I was layering them, because it did seem like it was a little bit of weight, difference in keeping them all with the same block. I wish I would have off-centered it, but I didn't, so it's okay. So I think I used 44 pieces on this. 44, 41, 42 pieces. Because I think at the end I left 2 out of the bottom center. So if I did decide to take out the foam and I needed help with it, I could push like scissors through it just to help ease it out, if I ever did, which I don't see myself doing that because I like the way it turned out. And we're just adding, I think this is the 3rd layer. So I'm just seeing how it looks. You can see that I left 2 empty spaces. Now I'm going to add some of the wood glue. And as well as hot glue to hold it together while that wood glue dries. And you're just basically evening it out, making sure that they match against each other. And I didn't want to paint it. Yes, you could paint it maybe next year. Maybe I decided to paint it a different, but I like the red truck, the little image on there, so I wanted to go ahead and keep it. So now I'm taking some of this burlap ribbon, and I'm going to wrap around those blocks just to cover that up. Again, you could paint it as well, but I just went ahead and just to make it more simpler, just use the burlap. I tried the orange. I saw too much of the different blocks through it, so I just went ahead and used the solid burlap. I'm just going to glue on the inside of it and wrap it around to the other side. To cover those blocks up. Now from there, I'm going to go ahead and start getting my floral ready. And I inserted 2 of the small floral foams that come in like 6 a pack, I think. It looks like one long one, but it's 4 or 6 of those small, and they actually fit real perfectly inside of it with 2 of them. And so I just added some hot glue, and I did mess up on this part a little bit because I went into in on this side, and so it wasn't going to fit the other one too good, so I had to readjust that first one. And I made sure I just pushed it all the way to the edge of one side, and so I could fit that other. And I use the scissors to go in between the floor foam and the top of that mason jar inside the gap, just to hold it down into the glue so the glue could grab hold of it better. And so now you can see I'm adding some of that nautical rope, and that's going to be what I'm using to hang on my hanging wreath, or wreath hanger. And as you now you can see you can add whatever flowers. I used a little bit of those little daisies, I think they were, and some orange sunflowers. And I still don't know what those tall red ones are, but I always forget what the name of those. And you just put the flowers however you would look like. You know, alternating from one side to the next, just so you can get that balance. Now I'm just adding some fall leaves. As well as those metallic ones, leaves that I don't think I've seen Dollar Tree carry those this year. I really like that shimmer it has, adding to your floral design. And then from there, I think I added some of those Dollar Tree pumpkins. I just added 2 of the big ones, or I think they were the medium-sized ones, and added those 2 in, and just seeing where I can need fillers, you know, where there might be gaps, adjusting some of the flowers. And I actually did that upside down. But you get the gist of it. I think I was done. No, I actually did add a little bit more texture to, just a little piece of texture to the mason jar side of it. I went ahead and got some of that orange rope that Dollar Tree is carrying, and it's the little orange twine, I think it's what it is. And I wanted to add that into this piece, throw out a little bit of that orange, but I went ahead and just went around. So now I added that rope, the orange rope, and just wanted to give it a little bit of a tassel, and so I just cut little pieces of it, wrapped it around my hand, cut it into the smaller size, and then I wrapped a little bit of nautical rope just to hold it together. and I glued it to that end of the mason jar sign. Took a little time because that nautical rope, it takes a little bit longer to hold. And then I went ahead and added it. To that side, trying to adjust that rope so it didn't stick out crazy. It was looking like Pippi Longstocking. Trying to stick out. This you don't have to do. You could add just maybe a little bow on it, or if you want to cover the whole thing with the top lid of the sign, you could do that too with the orange, just as the caps. And then from there I went ahead and got some of this leaf ribbon and made just a shoelace bow. I think I was having trouble trying to make a shoelace bow on this. I struggled for a minute. Forgot how to tie shoes since I don't wear tennis shoes. And we just made a regular little bow. You can use any kind of ribbon. I use this leaf colored one. I thought I was trying to find the pumpkin one that they have as well. I do have it. I just couldn't find it on hand right at that moment. So I just went ahead and went with the leaves one. And then just adjusting it to the size I want and seeing where I want to place it at. I just gave it an angled cut at the edges, and then I glued some of that rope down since it was wanting to go crazy, as you can see. And that is the final look. And it actually sounds good. It stands on its own pretty good, and you can have it on a table or on the floor, or like I'm gonna put it on a wreath hanger. And here is the final look on my mirror. Looks beautiful. So this one I really enjoyed doing. I went and found this at the Goodwill store. I hardly ever go. I live maybe a couple blocks from one, and I never go to it because I just never think to go to it. But I was wanting to go see what kind of maybe stuff, old wall hangings, planners maybe that I could have for DIYs, and I came across this wall lantern and I fell in love with it. And it's a pretty good size, and I knew for sure I wanted to paint it, so I did take some of that plaster colored Waverly chalk paint, and I decided to go and do paint over it with that color. And it did take me a good while because, as you can see, it's got a lot of detail to it, so I had to get into those crevices. And at first I was just gonna do maybe a one layer kind of rough, farmhouse look of antiquing it or whatever. But But it was just showing a lot of gold on some places, and I just was decided to go ahead and just let's cover the whole thing. So I did a couple layers of this chalk paint on it. I didn't want it white, so that's why I used the plaster color. And it did take a while to get that first coat everywhere. So now you can see that I did a couple coats afterward, let it dry, and now I'm going to antique it by adding some of that Minwax wood stain. And I just didn't want it to blend in too much into my wall because I do have an ivory colored walls in my living room, so I just wanted to give it a little bit of antiquing. And you can't go wrong with that. I mean, a little goes a long way. And I actually liked how it turned out. And so you just work it, and especially into those small little edges and corners, and trying to get that where you don't leave it white on some spots. And I just used a sponge, one of the Dollar Tree makeup sponges, to add that. I will probably not use that again because the fact is it did tear up real easily using that. So it's probably just better to go to the probably Dollar General, because I know that they have the better makeup sponges, and you could use that. And so now I didn't do anything with the back of it. If later on I decide to paint it, then I will. But it's going to go on a wall, so you're not going to see it. So now I'm just adding a little piece of the foam, floral foam, into the lantern, and I just want to put flowers just to cover that up. You know, later on down the road, if I decide to put maybe a little light, I could add lights to it. But I wanted to use this for the season floral design. And I used pretty much the same flowers that I used on the last project, and just so they mesh in together, because they are standing in the same, decorating in the same area. I'm just gluing that foam because it did pop off a little bit more sturdier. And just adding different flowers, orange flowers and leaves, whatever you want to use. You can put a light in there if you want to, and maybe a flower too, a bow if you choose to. I decided to create a bow using the leaves ribbon, as you can see, and I just did a bow with that, did the notches, and then used the pipe cleaner to tie it to it. And then I also got some of that burlap orange that Dollar Tree has, and I just made that into just a little simple bow to tie into that. Leaf bow. And so there you can see I added to the top corner, did some dovetails on the edges of the ribbon and just fluffed it out, and now you can see the end result of it. So this again is the final look for all the pieces. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. God bless you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.